Andrew's back there. He turned it on. Well, it's good to see everybody. It's about time y'all quiet, respect the authority up here. No, just kidding. It's, hey, looks like we're streaming too, because I just got a notification. Hope y'all are doing well tonight. I'm just going to warn you. I may make you mad. I may step on your toes tonight. I may step on mine. You don't like that? You ain't got a problem with me. I'm going to act like Ashley tonight. If you got a problem, your problem's with Jesus tonight, okay? Jesus, Ashley always, whenever we get in an argument, at the very end, for her trump card, I don't know if y'all play Rook, she'd always pull out the Rook and dump it on me, and it's the Bible. You know, she always dumps Jesus on my head. I can't fight against that, so she wins all the time. So that's her trump card. And any of y'all that play Rook, y'all know what the trump card is, you know, the Rook. But we're going to talk about an interesting lesson tonight. It's called Strangers and Pilgrims here in the Discipleship book. Strangers and Pilgrims. It's lesson 10. And the reason that I may make you mad is because I don't think we're good at this at all, personally. After sitting and thinking about this lesson, I think we're bad at this, especially as Americans. I think we're really bad at this, and I think this is something that we need to improve on. At least something I think I need to improve on. So I just got back from a trip to Honduras, where I was a stranger in a foreign land. And I was, you know, it was a different feeling than I'd ever felt before. I was a person that did not speak the language of that place. I was a person that looked different than most everybody in that place. Now, it wasn't a negative thing. It was really kind of cool because the people in Honduras were very, very friendly, very nice people. The children greeted us with, "Yay, it's the gringos!" You know, when they saw us coming in the back of the truck, "Gringos, yay!" And they would clap, and I thought that was precious, you know, because we were the gringos coming in the trucks. But I did feel out of place a couple of different times. In fact, I could see how some Hispanic people might feel in this country sometimes. We were pouring concrete one day. This isn't to boast or anything about pouring concrete. It's kind of, it's manual labor, right? So the bosses of the concrete pour were the Hispanic men that knew what they were doing. And I was grunt work. Yeah, I was there for help, okay? They were telling us what to do, and it was our job to listen and do it. And we really couldn't understand what they were saying, but, you know, they're pointing us, telling us what to do. Put this here, push this down, tamp that down, scrape this here, get this done. And that was our job, and we did it. But we were strangers in their land. What I feel like is that we're comfortable here. We're comfortable here on this earth. This is a place that we like. This is a place that we have an extreme amount of attachment to. In fact, as Americans, we are very prideful in our citizenship of our country. We're very prideful in our way of life, the American way of life. We're prideful in our government. We're prideful about our military. We're prideful about our wealth. We're prideful about a lot of different things. And I think we're taught to be that way. And you know, I think my parents taught me to be proud to be an American. And is it the best country on earth? I think it is. I really do. Does it have a lot of good points? Yeah, it really does. But is it my ultimate destination? Okay, that's really the question. Is this place and all the good that it has, is it our ultimate destination? Do we want it to be our ultimate destination? Also, I've had an interesting week. Last week I got to go to a foreign country, get back home from a foreign country. I got to go to a funeral. I got to go to my uncle's funeral. You know, things like that make you think about what we focus on personally, what we spend our time on. What is the goal? What is our goal? What is our perspective? Why do we do the things that we do? Why do we go to work? Okay? I spent 8 hours of my day today, 8 or 9 hours working, right? I'll spend more hours of the waking day today working or doing things around work than I'll do anything else, right? Now, is that my fault or is that just my position in life right now? I mean, it's part of what I have to do, right? Because I need to work to support my family, to have a place to live, to have food to eat, have, shelter for my children. That's important. That's a godly attribute name. But is that something that drives me? Or is that just a means to an end? Okay? And I think if we're honest, that changes over our lifetime. And it probably, at different points in our lifetime, it really has been our driving focus. It has been for me at times. Doing work. That's been my driving focus. Saving for my future. Paying for a car or a truck or a house or multiple different things, right? Is that my ultimate goal in life? It shouldn't be, right? I've told y'all a story, and we're going to get to the strangers and pilgrims. I think this all revolves around it. I've told some people this story, and it had an impact on me. When I was maybe 7 or 8 years ago, I bought a house. That's when I was buying rent houses. I bought this house. It was probably my third or fourth house that I purchased. And I had to buy it as it sat. And it was full of stuff. I bought it from the Medicare agency. And they acquired the home as a result of the people that owned the home for close to 50 years going into the nursing home. And as a result of them going into the nursing home, the Medicare agency acquired their estate to pay for their medical care. Okay? And so I purchased the house from the Medicare agency. But I had to buy everything with the house. I had to buy their belongings and all of their appliances and their bookshelves and their furniture. And even down into their desk drawers, their pencils and papers. And I took most everything that family had, and I loaded it up in my truck and my trailer, and I took it to the dump, most all of it. I took all their personal belongings that they had spent a lifetime acquiring, I threw them away, most of it. These pens that this man, he worked for Liberty National Life Insurance. I know that because I found, his pens where he had been there for 15 years and 20 years and 30 years and trinkets about, his work. And I threw all that stuff out because I didn't need it. It wasn't of any value. It was just plastic or wood and junk to me. But he had spent a long lifetime working at Liberty National, and that was his gift of service. And I thought to myself, this is what the Bible talks about when it says everything in this world and its works will be burned up at the end. There's going to come a point in time where all of us are gone, right? We're all going to be like my uncle was this week. Our life will be no more here on this earth. And, you know, we went and took him to his final resting place at the National Cemetery down in Pensacola. And for his earthly body, that's where it will be. But that can't be the end for us. And that shouldn't be the end for anybody that we know or love or people that we meet on the street. We don't want this world to be the end. We don't want this world to be the final thing. And essentially we've become the refuse of this land. We have a future, right? What is our future? What's our future? Heaven, right? To be with God, to live eternally. When we're going to live, if we believe the Bible and we believe what's in the Bible, we're going to live somewhere, right? This world is not the destination eternally for everyone. It's either with God or without God. Okay? That's the description. So as we think about our life here on this earth, we are and should be and should act like that this place is not our final destination. And this place is just a means to an end. It's just a way to get to where we're really going. Where we want to be is with God. That's the whole point. The first part says, what are strangers and pilgrims? What are strangers and pilgrims is the way that the Bible describes them. Who is a stranger? A foreigner. Somebody that is not of the land where they are. Just like we were in Honduras. We were foreigners. Now, we weren't necessarily pilgrims is the way the Bible describes it, somebody that lives in a foreign place. Okay? But we were just visiting, right? We were just there for a while. When I was thinking about words that we might use to describe foreigners, I thought of words like gypsy or alien or illegal alien. That even has a more negative connotation. Homeless. Those are all negative things. I even put RVer in there. I thought that was kind of funny. You have an RV, you know, you get to tour around. You're kind of somebody that's a sojourner, right? That doesn't have nearly as a negative connotation as somebody that's homeless, okay, or somebody that's a gypsy. But that is what the Bible says that we should be. And I think that might strike us wrong as Americans. Do you think that strikes you as wrong to think about you being an alien to this world? An illegal alien? We don't like those terms as Americans, usually. That has a political connotation. And I used it for that purpose because we really should be people that don't belong here. That's the way the Bible describes us as how we should act. We should stick out. We should look different. We should act different. People should look at us and say, look, it's the gringos, right? Because of our actions, not because of our skin color, not because of our outward appearance, right? Because the funny thing is, the Bible talks about that. The Bible says don't act outwardly strange. Don't look outwardly strange. When you go and give, don't Don't make a scene about giving. When you fast, don't make a scene about that. You know, take a bath, put the oil on your head, and look normal, right? We're not supposed to look different. We're supposed to be different. We're supposed to be strangers. So why is that hard? Why is that difficult? Go ahead, Eric.
I like the way you really highlighted, the author really highlighted that, we're citizens of heaven, of the kingdom. And that's what we're looking forward to getting back to. So this place that we're in ought to feel as awkward as you felt in Honduras.
Right.
But we can't see it, feel it, touch it. We have faith that it's there.
Right.
And we have things to keep us busy while we're here, being disciples on the earth. But I thought it was interesting the way he made reference to some stuff that I think in Philippians that hey, we're citizens of heaven. We're citizens of the kingdom now.
We are.
And this world isn't our home. Our body just happens to be alive down here. We're just waiting to get back. So living up to what we got to live up to, our proving ground, if you will, down here is we get comfortable with it, and we just our families from here, and we get close and attached to a lot of things that ends up just getting buried. If your body gets buried, or your stuff just ends up going to the dump, kind of deal. So anyway,
go ahead, Terry.
I wrote about this in an article a couple weeks ago, but been looking at Philippians 3 quite a bit lately. Philippi was a colony of Rome, which is different than what Jerusalem was. In that empire, there's a distinction made between colonies and just territorial land. Philippi was settled by over 50% retired military of the Roman Empire. And so they were very zealous patriots for Rome. And if you had gone to Philippi and said, where are you a citizen of? They wouldn't have said Macedonia, and they wouldn't have said Philippi. They'd have said Rome. Went to Jerusalem and said, where are you a citizen of? They would have said Judah, because they viewed themselves as Jewish citizens under Roman rule, which is why they wanted out. And so it's not coincidental that Paul writes those terms to a city that's a colony of Rome, whose job was not just to be a military outpost, but to be a zealous group of patriots promoting Rome to the surrounding territory. That was their job. And he's saying to them, you are a colony of heaven. And so our job is to be zealous patriots in a heavenly sense. And not concerned with our citizenship here. And that's a struggle, because you asked why it's so hard. We're raised to be patriots.
Yes.
Especially in the South, by the way.
I agree.
100%. And we're raised to be political enthusiasts. And we allow the culture around us and our fears, which we want to pretend are, and this is where I'll step on our toes, we want to pretend are moral and wholesome. But a great deal of our fears are about money. And
yes.
It goes back to how it's going to hurt my pocketbook, which is why we're all up in arms now because of the inflation. Because there's people now that are like, I told you this was going to happen, right? We get all caught up in all of that. That becomes our passion. That becomes our desire. That becomes securing things here, and our way of living here becomes our focus.
Yes.
And it becomes our zeal. And I just got to be honest, as somebody who takes that role in Ephesians 4, that my job is to equip for the ministry and to build up for the work. If I could get disciples as zealous about their heavenly citizenship as they are about their political party and their patriotism, churches would not be half empty.
That's the truth. And the other thing that I think of is, we as human beings, we don't like to be, and we don't like to feel like we're ostracized. We don't like to feel like we're different. We don't like that. We don't. Some people do. Some people like that. Some people are, different like that. But most people don't like to stick out. They want to go with the flow. That's why most people don't really like conflict, okay? Because they want things just to go smooth over. We don't want to be different in a lot of scenarios, but we are. We're scared of not worrying about money, right? We're scared of not worrying about that. I think we want to have that to hold on to, that physical, tangible thing. And I'm here to tell you, you think your money's worthwhile, you don't understand the concept of fiat currency, okay? Because it's paper. And it's only good if you value it, okay? And if other people value it in trade. Go ahead, Charlie. Yeah, just sit behind him.
We were talking again last night. I don't have anything in my possession, nothing, that wasn't given to me by somebody else. The bubble that we live in distorts our vision. When you left here and went to Honduras, you saw stuff you've never seen before.
Yeah,
One of the great values of traveling, say in this country, all over this country, into poor sections, into rich sections, helps you see outside of that bubble. Now, have I changed? No. I've not said, well, this is not right. I've not done anything to do that, nor have I pursued an effort to change the things that's going on in my bubble. Even to the extent of trying to preach the gospel, which should be my first desire, is to save somebody else's soul. I can confess right off that I spend very little time trying to do that. I try to live my life in that way. But the bubble that we live in, that distorts our view. Until we can understand that view isn't real, we'll do better.
Well, the interesting thing is all about perspective. Like when we went down to Honduras, if you go down to Honduras and you look and you say, man, these people are poor. They don't have anything. That's you looking at through a lens of physical wealth, right? That's you looking through that physical wealth lens. If you take your glasses off and you say, well, maybe that isn't the most important thing in life, then you might say, they've got a lot more time than I do. They've got a lot more time than I do to talk to people. They got a lot more time to check on old people or sick people. They've got a lot more time to focus on things that really get in the way of me being a good disciple. Then I say, well, maybe they're not all that bad off after all. Okay? We have to understand our role. Our role in this life isn't to live for this life. Our role in this life is to live for the life to come. It's a long game. It's to live for God in this life, not for us. And that is so hard to do because, just like Terry said, we're trained from a very young age. As a young man, you have to work, okay? Your dad taught you this, just like my dad taught me this. Scott's dad did too. Chuck's dad. You go to work, you earn a living. You take care of your family. That's your job. It's not a bad thing to do, okay? Should that be your primary focus in life? No, it shouldn't. But we have that ingrained, okay? We also have, you are whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or a Libertarian, you get that ingrained into you. What political party you're a part of. You get, I'm a Southerner, I'm an Alabamian, I'm a Tennessean, I'm a Georgian from Texas, okay? You get that ingrained into you. And you have pride about that. But you know what you don't get ingrained into you? And we should. We all say, I am a Christian. Over all of those things that don't matter, I'm one of God's people. I need to act like I'm one of God's people. Go ahead, Scott's got a comment.
So, I'm just as guilty as anyone of being that person that looks at the physical world and sees things and wants to, and desires them and wants to have.
Yep.
And so, obviously that's what we have to work on. Each of us individually and as a group work on trying to change our viewpoint in regards to this world. This lesson is teaching us, where is our citizenship? And with that said, what I hope everybody will take away from that is, if you look at Abraham and Sarah, as you described earlier, they were strangers, they were sojourners, they were all those things, and they never saw the fulfillment of that promise.
They never did.
Okay, they never saw that, but they still
Trusted
sojourned and trusted in God.
Yep.
Now, what did God do for them? Were they without?
No, they weren't.
Did they ever go without anything?
No, they were blessed among all men.
In fact, what did God? He blessed them. He gave them possessions. So it's how our viewpoint is. We're seeking those possessions,
right,
instead of seeking God, who will give us. And I'm not saying He's going to give every one of us, new cars all the time or whatever, but I'm saying you're not going to be without. If you put your faith in God and you put your trust in God, He will bless you. And His blessings are more than you and I can imagine, even in this world. Even in this world.
And they're better and different.
They're better. His hand goes before us. He will treat us much better. And certainly, as you said, differently, He will utilize His wisdom to give us the things that we need.
Yeah.
Not what
Not
we
ours.
think what our wisdom is saying, right?
Correct.
And so that's where we have to get that viewpoint right. I think that the lesson tonight and talking about where your interest, where your focus is the whole key. We have to get the focus right. And that's our problem. That's our problem. It's our focus.
I think Scott's right, but there's one more step. God doesn't bless us when we're faithful just to bless us. He blesses us so that we can bless other people and glorify Him. And I think that's the next level. That's where we have a problem. Going to work and earning a living is not bad. It's dependent upon what your motivation is. If it's to build your 401k, it's the wrong motivation.
Yep.
If it's to help others and to glorify God with what He's blessed you with, then it's the proper motivation.
That's right.
And our problem is we go to work to earn what is ours.
That's right.
And we talk about work being what we've earned. Listen, the fact that we were born here instead of Honduras means God's already blessed us to a degree. And the reason, and they have things in their world that are better than ours, like you said. I'm not looking down on them, and the fact that we have the jobs that we have, God's already blessed us. And sometimes we sit back and we think, look what I've earned. Look at my own little empire. You didn't earn anything.
No.
God gave you everything you have.
If
and
God,
He gave it to you to glorify Him and serve other people.
Well, it's just like with Job. If God takes away your health, He can take away everything you have. And it's gone, right? Just like He did with Job. But you know what? Job never lost. He never lost his faith that God was still going to provide everything he truly needed, right? You know what we also don't do a very good job talking about this topic is we don't talk to our families about this, about how we need to be different, and we don't talk about this amongst ourselves. Because Lord knows we don't want to talk about money with other people. You know, that's we can't talk about money with other people. You know, they might get up in our business. And Charlie's talked about this, you know, not wanting people in his business. And I feel that same way too from time to time. But you know what? We're the people that we ought to trust with all of our business. Because what are we? We're God's family. We're part of the body. We need to help each other with our walk as weirdos, okay? As gypsies, as strangers, as people that stick out like a sore thumb. That's who we're supposed to be. And we need to help each other with that, to get better at it. Go ahead, Charlie.
Some of my business, I'm afraid it's not very pleasing in God's sight. So when I say I don't want people in my business, I don't want people to find out.
I think we're all like that, aren't we, Charlie?
Yeah, what happens sometimes. Yeah. And
life is stressful and ugly sometimes.
And here's the other thing too. I'm scared to death that it's Satan that makes me appreciate all these wonderful things I have.
It is.
It's Satan that helps me make political decisions.
Okay.
It's Satan that does that.
What question number? Let's see. We're going to go over here to question number 6 in the book on page 62. Why should a disciple consider the world to be enemy territory? That's question number 6. Why should a disciple consider the world as enemy territory? Because it's under the influence of Satan. This is his domain. We have to recognize that. Go ahead, Peyton.
Well, it's pretty obvious if you just look and open your eyes. I mean, the past couple months alone, you just see hate everywhere. I mean, whether it's Russia, whether it's other countries, whether it's even here in our nation, you see hate. It's obviously not what God preaches. It's obviously not what Dad preaches or what you've been teaching about or what the elders want here being taught. We want to edify each other.
Right.
We want to love each other. We want to show compassion. You know, you look around everywhere outside of here, it's not like that. It may be sometimes, but the majority of the time, especially during the lockdown, especially during that whole year, there's a lot of hate. Mm-hmm. You can obviously see that, you know, this is a foreign land for us because everything around us is exactly what God has told us is going to happen.
That's right. This isn't our home, guys. This is not... This isn't a good place. I mean, it's the best place here, right? We got the best place in a condemned world. Well, okay, right? We got the finest country to live in a condemned hole. What does that really mean? Go ahead, Terry.
It's like living on the best house on the worst side of town, right?
That's right.
At the end of the day, that's not a good investment.
That's right.
You've talked about us being weirdos and stuff. I think one of the things that's really interesting is what that looks like. You know, the Amish go out and they dress a certain way, and they don't do certain things in order to stick out so you'll know they're Amish.
Right.
That is not what we're talking about.
No, it's not.
And I think it's important to say that, you know, this isn't achieved by wearing certain clothes or saying certain things. But if you read through the book of Acts especially, people who were of the way were noticed. People noticed those of the way. That's what they were often called. They acted differently. And if you look at Philippians and Thessalonians over in the Macedonian territory, they stopped serving the emperors. They stopped being involved in all the Roman Empire promotional things. And they were so radically different. They were suffering because the other citizens were persecuting them because they now were proclaiming allegiance to King Jesus. And we hear that, and I don't think we understand. Like, they literally rejected, in our terms, rejected all things political for a dead king who died in an execution. And they claimed that was their king. And they were mocked, and they were told they were crazy. It wasn't just that they no longer went, in fact, a lot of them still, if they were Jews, went to the synagogue. But it wasn't just the fact that they stopped maybe going to the pagan temples. They stopped doing a lot of things that didn't look like somebody who served Jesus.
Yep.
And we try to blend in. We're almost like, in our minds, we're almost like double secret agents to a degree.
We're scared of being different. We're scared of being different, guys. That's what I think, okay? That's my opinion. We're scared of being different.
This is what it said, and it's in our lesson in 1 Peter, right? 4, 1 through 4, and as we read that, it says, for the time that is past suffices for doing what the Gentiles want to do, living in sensuality, passions, drunkenness, orgies, drinking, parties, and lawless idolatry. In other words, those are the things that are past for you. You're no longer living that way. If you lived that way, you were those were the things that that your passions desired, but no longer should they, like others do. He said, with respect to this, they are surprised when you do not join them in the same flood of debauchery, and they malign you.
And they heap abuse on you.
Exactly. They do all those things. Now, that's sticking out.
Yeah.
That's the type of sticking out we're talking about. Ultimately, like Terry was saying, it's not, it's not like the Amish in the sense, and I'm not talking bad about people, but it's not what they're talking about here.
No.
What's being talked about is living this lawlessness, this debauchery, it's no longer supposed to be you. And they're going to recognize that.
Right.
And they are going to malign you. They're going to do all those things, but they recognize it.
Well, the interesting thing is that I've experienced, okay, is that when you leave that kind of existence, the people that know you the most, that really care about you, they're going to notice it. They're going to appreciate it even. It's not going to be like the strangers in the street, okay? You might have friends that you influence for Christ, okay? That's why the Bible talks about, the faithful spouse, the faithful wife, doing and being faithful and being reverent in hopes that she might win over her husband, okay? It's interesting how when we live like God wants us to live, His will gets done because He gets glorified. Okay? Just like what Terry was talking about. Our goal is to glorify God with our actions. It's not to retire in style. Okay? That's not what living here on this earth is about. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, and I know the class is about very close to ending here.
We can go over. It doesn't matter.
So,
yeah, we started late.
Okay, that's fine. But I was two things that I wanted to say that I think are very important to maybe give some framework on this. and one is very 22, almost 23 years later, is very, how should I say it? It still really gives me chills. I was sitting on the porch of the house I was raised in. For those of you that know where I live, across the street in a big brick house that my mom and dad had, and I was raised there for the better part of my life. And it was 1999. It was, 2 days or a few days, I don't know, a month or whatever, before maybe Thanksgiving or whatever the case may be at that point. And my dad was very ill with cancer, stomach cancer at that time, and had been suffering for, by that time, I guess probably close to 16 months. And he's sitting on the porch. And for those that may have known my dad, he was very successful in this life, in business, and very successful. And lots of people came to him for advice. And there was those types of things. So that is something that, as you talked about earlier, work and those things are always ingrained in us, which is not a bad thing, as long as it's used right. But my dad's sitting on the porch, and he's looking out across and the fields and the ponds and the mountains and all the, the horses, and he's looking at all those things, and he's just sitting there rocking. And I'm sitting next to him, and we would do that often. But he, I could tell he was much worse, but he would have these thoughts, and he would think, and he would talk to me and my brothers at times, but it was just me and him. And he said, "Son, you see all that?" I said, "Yes, sir. Been working on it my whole life, and appreciate in the view and all that stuff." He said, "It's not about all that. It's not about all that."
It's not.
He said, again, 3 times, "It's not about all that." That always, since then, just gave me the big chills. Because I knew then the reality for him was he understood everything at that point. He understood so much, but he understood that so much better and was trying to drill that into me and to others as well at that time. I think that's a significant point because again, that's what we're trying to say here tonight. And maybe we can learn that. It's hard. Maybe we can learn that now and listen to people that have gone before us in regards to that.
Yep.
The last thing I want to say is, how do we do these things that we need to do? How do we, as a congregation of the Lord's people, strive to do what God wants us to do and to stand out? And how do we promote His gospel? And I use that word loosely, promote. How do we teach it? How do we do these things? It's in our daily lives every day. It's with the people that surround us. We've heard that 1,000,000 times. But that's what we have to do. It stands out with our coworkers, with our friends, with our family members. We have to have the passion to speak it. Again, you've said it several times. We just went to Honduras. Once again, those that were able to go, especially, were charged dramatically by what we were able to do and see, and among the Christians there and the non-Christians that we were able to talk to and to study with, and the little children, all those things. It energizes. We hope we can bring that energy back and put that forth, because that is what it's supposed to be about, okay? Putting our efforts into that here and everywhere around us. We have another opportunity to do that. Those that can do that. Dave Long is leading an effort here in the community, in Chelsea, for the congregation, okay? And that will be at the Big Kaboom. And we've done it before. We want it to be bigger than ever. Dave, send an email out. I want you to reread the email if you haven't read it, or read it for the first time, and I want you to think about, what can I do? It may not be that. It may be something else, but what can I do to spread the word?
Jerry.
So I know we'll go over time probably. I don't even know what the time is, but
Doesn't matter.
for 25 years, I've dedicated my life to spreading the gospel. And in those 25 years, I have been told repeatedly, I just don't know how to share the gospel. If you could teach me how to teach the gospel, I'd do it. And I got to tell you, that's a lie. That's not true. Nobody taught you how to promote your political candidate. You just had enough passion to do it. Nobody taught you how to share the best restaurant you've ever ate at. You just have enough passion about it to do it. Nobody taught you how to love Alabama football. You have enough heart and passion to do it. At the end of the day, it's not about me teaching you how to teach. It's about you developing a heart that loves the Lord enough that you don't care what people think when you talk to them about Jesus. If I could get people, I was told one time I wanted to do shirts at another place, and somebody said, why would we do shirts that have our name on it? We don't want to wear those. Listen, if we could if I've been told before, I don't want to put a sticker on my car. I don't want to put a sign in my yard. And yet, I'll put a sticker in my car and wear a shirt and put a sign in my yard that says who I'm going to vote for and not think anything about it. You evangelize the gospel the same way you evangelize your politics. You have to love it enough to want to share it. And the problem is, we don't want it. We do not want it. We want so many other things. We look at our neighbor and we want to convince them who to vote for, but we don't care whether they go to heaven or not. That's just who we are. And until we admit that and decide we're going to change, nothing will ever change.